Right. So the session is on recording, and we would be doing text two together. I've already given it for reading, and what we are going to answer by reading this is identify the times of narrating, narrative, and internal time relationship in the following text. And as for example, we will be doing text two and skipping text one. Does tense correlate with time in English? Okay, so we'll see is there a strict relationship between the tense that is being used, tense of the verb, and the time that is being shown in the narration. Okay, so let's get to this text two and admit some of your class fellows. Okay, so at 9:30 a.m. Now, what we do in the stylistics class, you need to know the main idea what's happening. Okay, again, I repeat that this is an extract. We know to a great extent what is happening in the story, but not completely, right? And this is from some of the novel also. So what you're going to decipher while we are reading this text is just inside information. Okay, the kind of tense that I used, and in this one you are going to find out all kinds of text. Okay, so the first question is how many kinds of tense are there in English morphologically? Just go to your chat and write it down. And which ones are those? How many kinds of morphological tenses, or how many kinds of tenses are there in English morphologically, and what are those? Quickly go to your chat, answer the question, and what are those? Yes, Aziz. Oh, Aziza is wrong. Not 3. Nida is right. 2. Yes. Which ones? Just not these, Nida. You have to specify. Morphologically, there are just 2 tenses, okay? Yes, Sarasha is right. Simple present and simple past, okay? It's just not Faryal, it's just not present and past, because, you know, there can be present continuous and past continuous and present perfect and past perfect. So morphologically, in English, we just have 2 kinds of tenses, and all the other tenses are derived through these tenses by the use of auxiliary. For instance, when we talk about future tense, we have to add an auxiliary in the form of will or, would. Okay, and similar is the case with the continuous tense. You have to have an auxiliary to make it ing. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to see the inside story also, because that also indicates the time of narrative. Okay, and we already know, we have already discussed what is usually the time of narrating. Okay, so what we are more interested in finding out is the pattern of tenses used here and the time of narrative. Okay, time of narration we already know, and time of narrative we are going to find out. Now, from the very beginning of this text, from the very first sentence, you get to know that the narrative is in future. How do you get to know that? Okay, go back to your chats and tell me, how do you know that this text lies in the future, or the narration lies in the future? Quickly. The first sentence tells you that. If you have come read, you can answer this question. How do you know that this narrative is somewhere in the future? Yes, the date tells you, the year tells you, okay? Yes, it's written 2065. So this is 2021. So of course, 2065 is somewhere in the future. So in the very beginning, we are told that the time of narrative is the future. Okay, but what we are going to look here is that future tense isn't used in the whole of this text, okay? There is a variation in the use of tenses, right? So the preferred tense of narrative we already know is the past tense, and you will notice here, okay? But the story lies in the future because the internal details tell us so, right? Okay. So let's read it together and we'll find out the tenses, okay? We have already determined the time of narrating, okay, and the time of narrative through the internal details or through what we have just read in the very first sentence of text 2, right? Okay. At 9:30 a.m. 26 August AD 2065, the board sitting in London was informed. Simple present past tense, okay? Was informed by DeForest that the District of Northern Illinois has rightly cut itself out of all systems and would remain disconnected till the board should take over and administer it directly. Okay? Would remain disconnected, right? The future tense. Okay. Every Northern Illinois freight in passenger tower was, he reported, past tense, out of action. All district main, local, and guiding light had been extinguished. All general communication were dumb, and through traffic had been diverted. No reason had been given, but he gathered unofficially from the mayor of Chicago that the district complained of crowd making and invasion of privacy. As a matter of fact, it is of no importance, right? Future tense, past tense, and then present tense. Whether Northern Illinois stay in or out of planetary circuit is a matter of policy. Any complaint of invasion of privacy needs immediate investigation lest worse follow. Needs, again, present tense, right? Now, by 9:45 a.m., DeForest, Dragomirov, Russia, Takira, Japan, and Pirolo, Italy, were empowered to visit Illinois and to take such steps as might be necessary for the resumption of traffic and all that implies. For the resumption of traffic and all that implies. Okay. By 10 a.m., the hall was empty. Was empty. Okay. From present to past, and the four members, I were aboard what Pirallo were insisted on calling my little godchild. That is to say, the new Victor Pirallo. Our planet prefers. Okay. Just notice these the presence of present tense, and in the coming session we would be dealing with the number of functions that present tense performs. Okay, so this text would also help you in learning the details about the present tense as a matter of example. Okay, let me add a few of your class fellows here and then we continue. Okay, prefers to know Victor Pirallo as a gentle, gray-haired enthusiast who spends his time near Foggia, inventing or creating new breeds of Spanish Italian olive trees. Okay, but there is another side to his nature, the manufacture of coin inventions, of which the Victor Pirallo is perhaps not the least surprising. She and a few score sister craft of the same type embody his latest ideas, but she is not comfortable. An ABC boat does not take the air with a level keeled lift of a linear, but shoots up rocket fashion like the aeroplane of our ancestors and makes, okay, her height at top speed from the first. That is, That is why I found myself sitting suddenly on the large lap of Eustace Arnott, who commands the ABC fleet. Commands. Okay, that is why, right? The level keel lift of a liner but shoots up rocket fashion. Okay, all of this is in the present tense. One knows vaguely that there is such a thing as a fleet somewhere on the planet and that, theoretically, it exists for the purpose of what used to be known as war. Only a week before, while visiting a glacier sanatorium behind Gotham, I had seen some squadrons making for Aurora far to the north while they maneuvered round the pole. But naturally, it had never occurred to me that things could be used in earnest. Okay, so now the first thing is, just in 2 lines, just tell me what is the main idea, what's happening basically, what is being talked about here. Quickly go to your chat and tell me what is happening. Of course, we cannot make a complete idea, but what is being talked about? Okay, what kind? Where? Traffic where? In water, in the air, on land? Yes, Mazia, where? Okay, we are getting some answers here. Oh, for real? Okay, and how about the fleet? Are there some fleets also discussed? Okay, right. So that there are international, people involved here. They are discussing something, and um, some of the places have just cut themselves out of the system. Okay, so they are no more in the system of these planets, and then there is a communication going on, and then they um, are trying to reconnect whosoever has left the circuit. Okay, anyway, now let's come to the more important thing of the stylistic significance of the presence of these tenses. But we are going to answer what we were asked to answer. Now we were asked to answer, let's get back here. Okay, what is the times of narrating? Quickly go to your chat. We already know what is the time of narrating. What is the time of narrating? No. Narrating, as the writer narrates, what's the time? Yes. I told you that whatever the time of narration might be, okay, most of the time, not in this particularly text, too, the time of narrative is the past tense, while the time of narrating, as the writer writes, he's writing in present. Okay, he's writing actually. So the present time is the time of narrating. Okay, so this is always now, because when he's writing at the present time, which is present for him, right? uh, and he's not concerned when are we going to read about it. Okay, but what he is writing when he is narrating, the time of narrating is always present. because it's now for him. Whosoever is writing, it's now for him. Okay. Time of narrative. What is the time of narrative? We have already deciphered that in the very beginning. My God. 2065. Time of narrative. कहानी किस time की है ये? Let me put it this way. We have just done it, guys. Yes, it's future. Okay. And how do we know this? We know this through the internal time relationships, right? Here, right here, right here, we know that the time of narrative is the future. And whatever he's talking about, it's hard for us to, make out the meaning, because he's talking about something of the solar system and planets that will happen in the future, where planets would be able to disconnect themselves, okay, whenever they would like to. So something of that sort. So the time of narrating is present, the time of narrative is future. Okay. An internal time relationship, as I kept on telling you while we were reading, that they are moving from, from the future, then to the past tense, and then there's a presence of the uh, present tense also. Okay. For instance, um, I'll tell you in a while in how many ways we can use present tense. But for factual information, for instance, our planet prefers. Okay, so that's a present tense, and at a number of places we found the present tense. Okay, when he was describing a matter of fact things. Okay, so other than that, you found a lot of past tense, because the time of narrative, as within the narration, uses a lot of past tense. For instance, there are a lot of examples, like Rallo insisted. Okay, and then we had example of present tense, a lot of present tense. She's not comfortable. Okay, and then we have an example of present tense here also. So he keeps on moving. The story is of the future, but to tell that story, he makes use of the past tense as well as of the present tense as well, right? So here was, he reported, all of that. So within the paragraph, he tries to maintain consistency in the use of tense, but then in the next paragraph, he uses the present tense. Okay. For instance, as a matter of fact, it is of no importance. Northern Illinois stay in or out of planetary circuit as a matter of policy. Okay. Privacy needs immediate investigation. So this paragraph is in the past tense, then this is in the present tense, and then this is again in the present tense, or planet prefers to know, right? And then it starts with were empowered, right? Were abroad, all of this. So the time of narrative, right, is future, but the tense is not the future tense. You will seldom find future tense here, right? So someone is waiting to come. Okay, let me check. Yeah, there are some students, I've allowed them. Okay, now as I've told you that the time of narrating is the present, and the time of narrative is future, but the use of tenses move between present and past tense, and again present tense. So what do we infer from this use of tenses? Stylistically, we can answer the B part of the question. Does tense correlate with time in English? What do you think? After this discussion, after this short discussion, what do you think? Does tense correlate with time in English? Go to your chat and answer the question. Okay, yes. The answer is no, or not always. We cannot say not always because we are actually answering this question in context of text 2. So as far as text 2 is concerned, there is no correlation between the tense and time in English. Okay, the time is the future time, but we rarely found any future tense in text 2. Okay, we could find the present tense, we could find the past tense, but not the future tense, whereas the time of narrative is the future. Okay, narrating, present, narrative, future, internal time relationship, a movement between past and present, and no correlation between tense, which is present and past, and time, which is future. Okay, as far as this is concerned, so text 2 is concerned, right? So here we are done with this text 2 as far as tense and time in English is concerned. Now let's move to two more kinds of verb phrases. Okay, we are already done with two kinds as finite and non-finite. Okay, I hope you remember that. We did a lot of examples also. Right now we are doing simple and compound verb phrases, which is not a complex phenomena to understand. Simple verb phrases have a main verb, right? Whereas compound verb phrases come with an auxiliary. Okay. For instance, okay. For tomorrow, I will see. Okay. I'm seeing, I see. I see, see is the simple one, and I'm seeing is a little complex, or you can say compound ones. Okay. So verb phrases can be either simple or complex, which can also be called as compound. Other than that, they can be finite or non-finite. So simple verb phrases have only one verb, like I see, I saw, right? But when uh, these complex verb phrases, they have two verb forms. However, many times there are, the first will always be finite and the last one non-finite. For instance, I will see. Okay, was seeing, had seen. Right now we are only dealing with the complex one in the form of the auxiliary that comes in between. Okay, I have not seen, I had been seen. This is complex verb phrase, whereas the simpler one are with the main verb only. Okay, I see, I saw, I have seen becomes a complex one. Finite and non-finite, we are done. So here we go. I had intended to go. Okay, so this is the non-finite one, right? And this is the finite one. Why this had is finite? What are the characteristic of finite that that this is this can be the finite one? Why can we say that? Okay, Mahzib is asking. Acha, there are a few questions that we need to answer before we move forward. Nida Ilyas is right as far as this immediate question is concerned. Yes, had tells you about the time. So if a verb tells you about the time, or it participates in telling you about the subject verb agreement, that is number, then such verbs are finite. Okay, and infinitives, as we are seeing an example here, to go, it doesn't tell you about the time or the number, so these are non-finite verbs. Okay, ये तो हो गया. Now let me check few of the questions that you have asked. Aziza is asking, won't we write verdict for these? Yes, we would write verdict. And the verdict comes in the form of answers that you have provided to the two questions that are being asked, right? So while you are answering those two questions, of course, you will give examples from the text, and in that way you will be formulating your verdict. Okay, you will be writing down your verdict, right? Mahazeb is asking, is there a difference between actual time and narrative time? Yes, there is. Okay. A time of narrative, popularly is a past tense, but you need to find it out. Okay. Uh, actual time, actual time, what do you mean by actual time? The time of the story, okay, that you get to know from its internal tense patterns, or the time when the a person is writing. So the time of narrating is the present time. Okay. um, and the time of narrative really depends. Okay. Okay, who's this Arfa said? Verdict cannot be defined, but verdict has a procedure to follow, right? And now, verdict is written within a particular theoretical framework, whatever is asked um, about a particular text. Okay. So I don't know if I think you're from masters. Please, I would prefer that you ask your class fellows, because we have been doing verdicts alone throughout. So if there is a problem in writing down the verdict, then that becomes a serious issue, because we don't do anything in stylistics except for writing down the verdicts, right? So we would move further, and we okay. So we are doing examples of complex, compound, finite, and non-finite. Okay. In the coming text that I would like you to read, I would read just one or two with you, and the rest of that you are going to solve by yourself. We are going to talk about the four kinds of um, verb phrases that we have studied so far. Okay. So here is, we have already solved this: had and to go, right? Now, complex verb phrases have more than one verb in the verb phrase, right? So here are some of the examples. Okay, this is the simple one: happened, woke up, went back. And these are the example of the compound ones when we have an auxiliary. Okay, let me add few of your class fellows again. Sohila is getting disconnected again and again. Anyway, so these are the compound ones where you have an auxiliary. Okay, past perfect, past continuous, past continuous. Okay. So, okay, keep noting down whatever I'm giving you um, for practicing. Okay. Apart from reading, whatever I'm giving you for practicing, it would be a part of your term assignment. So you would be providing me examples of simple verb phrases and the compound verb phrases. Okay. I hope it's clear. Um, the simple verb phrases are very simple. You need to have just one verb here, and the compound ones are with an auxiliary. Okay, so tell me, uh, are simple verb phrases finite, non-finite? Are compound verb phrases finite, non-finite? Quickly answer this question, and then we move on. Okay, or Zara is right, simple verb phrases are finite. And what about the complex verb phrases? Okay, how about the complex verb phrases? Are those finite or non-finite? Yes, both are finite. Complex verb phrases are also finite because both of these give you a sense of time. Okay? Happened, past tense, this is past tense, this is past perfect, past. continuous, and this is past continuous. Okay. So all of these are finite, right? So let's talk about the comment, and then we move to find out the time schemes in 3, 4, and 5. It is common for authors to use both compound and simple verb phrases in a text, and to use the full range of modals and auxiliaries. Okay. It is less usual to find a text that displays a narrow range, such as only using simple verb phrases or only using one kind of auxiliary, right? So, what we are going to do in the next 3 texts is we are going to look at, are the verb phrases in text 3, 4, 5 simple, compound, finite, non-finite, and then we are going to find out the scheme. The session is about to end. What I would like you to do is take 10 minutes break, read these, and then get connected again. Okay, I'll open the room again. I'm ending the meeting because it's we are just running out of time, in the sense that the session would be over automatically. So I repeat, just take a 10 minutes break and come back to the room. We are going to do these 3 texts together. Okay, in these 10 minutes you are going to read them, because these are very small. Okay, these are short kind of text, right? Read that and we'll be back, right?